Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I call to order the meeting of the Manassas Park governing body for Tuesday, October 15th, 2024. First, we have approval of the agenda. I believe we do have a closed session. Dean, would you please read the citation?
It will be, so if I can remember, I haven't pulled together the motion yet, so it's going to be paragraph 3 and 8, I believe. Yeah, I'll have to give it to you when we get to there to be exact. But there's 3 items on the closed meeting. One is consultation with city attorney. One is to discuss a proposed contract, and then the other one is to potentially amend a proposed contract. So I believe those are they're under 8, and I believe maybe 29. I just need to get the actual paragraph.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Dean. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. Please join us in a moment of silence. And Councilmember Hampton, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Is there anyone, there's no one signed up to make public comment, but is there anyone who is not signed up but who would still like to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, we will move on. We do not have a public hearing, but we do have a number of recognitions this evening. Our first recognition is of Fire Department and Parks and Recreation employees for providing life-saving measures at the Manassas Park Community Center on September 6th, 2024. And the resolution reads, whereas the governing body of the City of Manassas Park are extremely grateful for the great service provided to our community by all of our employees, and whereas the governing body desires to recognize outstanding performance of our employees as they work together to positively impact the community. And whereas on September 6, 2024, a patron at the Manassas Park Community Center unexpectedly suffered from a medical emergency. And whereas without quick, skilled medical attention, the patron would not have survived. And whereas the rapid response initiated by these individuals to include analyzing the situation, calling 911, performing cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and using an automated external defibrillator undeniably saved a life. And whereas the team worked together to ensure that the patron was provided the best care while maintaining their privacy and dignity. And whereas the team came together to ensure the safety of the patron's family member after the emergency by providing supervision and notifying emergency contacts of the situation. Staff supervised the family member until a more permanent solution was identified. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the governing body hereby recognizes the great service and extraordinary teamwork of Brooke Heaton, Riley Fitz, Brody Barton, Lisa Fole, Roger Robinson, Jason Strygoff, Zach Buck, Deputy Fire Marshal Adam Jones, and Assistant Fire Chief of Operations Tom Oliver that saved a life on September 6th, 2024. Be it further resolved that Brooke Heaton, Riley Fitz, Brody Barton, Lisa Fall, Roger Robinson, Jason Strygoff, Zach Buck, Deputy Fire Chief Adam Jones, and Assistant Fire Chief of Operations Tom Oliver are awarded with Excellence in Service Awards for their life-saving efforts by the governing body, and a certificate of excellence in service signed by both the mayor and the interim city manager of Manassas Park. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. And I believe, Keith, you said you were going to pass those out, or? Sure.
Roger Robinson. You guys have just been up here with everything. You know. Who's that?
Well, until they go do all.
Oh, they do all.
Okay.
Zach Buck. Chief Adam Jones. I butchered your name, sorry. Chief Tom Oliver. Jason Streicher. Riley Fitz. Oh, you do. Brody Barton. Rick Healy.
This is not your correct. Oh, there you go.
All right, come on up. If I may have you guys group together, GB, if you want to stand up and take a group photo.
Okay.
Do we need to scrunch in?
Thank you all so much, and I really can't express in words how proud we all are of you. And we're just overwhelmed with pride. Thank you so much for doing what you did. Okay, moving on to the Latino Festival Certificates of Appreciation. The city is always happy to recognize volunteerism, and we would like to recognize the following for their support and their contributions to the Manassas Park Latino Festival. And those entities are the Manassas Park National Honor Society, the Manassas Park Junior National Honor Society, the silver sponsor, WG Construction, and the bronze sponsor, Rock Spring Contracting. Do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you. We appreciate We appreciate the kindness and the volunteer spirit. Is anyone here this evening?
I don't think I see anyone, but I'll forward the
Okay,
certificates to
Councilmember
them.
Amaya will deliver
Yes.
the certificates of appreciation. Okay. And next, we have a proclamation recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month 2024. Whereas during National Hispanic Heritage Month, the City of Manassas Park recognizes and celebrates the rich cultural traditions and honors the significant achievements of our Hispanic and Latino American communities. And whereas Hispanics and Latino Americans are the largest ethnic minority group in the country, the fastest growing minority in the Commonwealth, and make valuable contributions to the Commonwealth and the City of Manassas Park in business, government, education, the sciences, arts, and faith. And whereas the observation started in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson and was expanded by President Ronald Reagan in 1988 through the legislative encouragement of Congressmember Esteban Torres of California, to cover the period at which it is celebrated today, September 15th through October 15th. And whereas the day of September 15th is significant because it is the anniversary of independence for the Latin American countries Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. In addition, Mexico and Chile celebrate their Independence Days on September 16th and 18th, respectively. And whereas on this Hispanic Heritage Month, the governing body of the City of Manassas Park would also like to recognize the volunteers, the Manassas Park National Honor Society, the Manassas Park Junior National Honor Society, silver sponsor WG Construction, and bronze sponsor Rock Spring Contracting for their contribution and support of the Manassas Park Latino Fest. Therefore, be it proclaimed by the City of Manassas Park that on this day we recognize September 15th, 2024 through October 15th, 2024 as Hispanic Heritage Month in recognition of the indelible footprints of Hispanic culture in our daily lives. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone here to receive the,
Not today.
okay. Councilmember Amaya will deliver that one also.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to 6D. 6D is a recognition of Mr. Mark Botros, Chairman of the Manassas Park Economic Development Authority, for his years of service to the City of Manassas Park. Whereas the governing body of the City of Manassas Park is extremely grateful for the great service provided to our community by all of our resident volunteers, and whereas the governing body desires to recognize outstanding performance of our volunteers as they work together to positively impact the community. And whereas from December 8th, 2020 to September 25th, 2024, Mr. Mark Botros served honorably as chairman of the Economic Development Authority. And whereas under his leadership, several critical economic development initiatives were successfully executed. And whereas the city is now in a much better position to recruit and retain small businesses to our downtown due to the conditions facilitated by the Economic Development Authority. Now therefore be it resolved that the governing body hereby recognizes the distinguished service and extraordinary leadership of Mr. Mark Botros and thanks him for his service to our city, and therefore awards him with a certificate of appreciation signed by both the mayor and the interim city manager of Manassas Park. Do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries.
invite you to say a few words if you're comfortable to do that. Okay.
So I want to say that this is completely unexpected, actually. When my wife and I moved here with our first daughter 16 years ago, this city has become our beloved home. And our children have absolutely demanded that we will never move. So we're intending to be here quite some time. And I have to say that it's been a phenomenal honor for me to be able to serve our city in this way. To see what has already transpired in the last several years, to see the transformation of the downtown, to see where it's heading now is absolutely incredible to me compared to where we were even just a decade ago. I made some similar remarks to the EDA, and I assure you, governing body, that you are in extraordinarily great hands with the now current leadership of the EDA. I do want to say a special thank you to Lena Connor and Dean Crowhurst, for without them, we would not be able to function. And I also want to say a special thanks to the other EDA board members who, without them, and them being as open to economic development as they were, really made this a very smooth transition from where we were several years ago to where we are today on a much firmer footing. I thank you all for the great honor, for the opportunity to serve here. It's been one of the great adventures of my life, and really seeing the transformation take place has been incredibly gratifying and rewarding to me. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to presentations. Councilmember Hampton, you're up.
Yep. Sarah's going to pull up the PowerPoints. So.
And can you pull your microphone down?
Oh, yes, sorry. Okay. Let's start with that one. That's a good one to start with. Okay. So we're going to start off with Keep the Park Beautiful. And the second slide is just our regular information side of where to find the information and who is on the committee and when we meet. So we've been very busy the past month, starting with September 14th. We met at, not Signal Hill, but at Costello Park. We actually had people from the age of probably about 12 to 91 years young. The 91 years young lady actually is the original owner of the home here in Manassas Park. And she came with her daughter and son-in-law. And I think altogether there was probably about 12 of us. We picked up more than 200 pounds of litter. And as you can see, we were featured in Potomac Local and found everything from bowling balls to liquor bottles to, once again, car parts, just a variety of things. And then last weekend, not this Sunday, but the Sunday before, we had a table at the Latino Festival. We got much help from the high school students. That's their handiwork that you see there. And we are extremely grateful for them because they helped us at the table. We spoke to many residents. Also spoke about the community maintenance working group, the Winter Lights extravaganza, and the Halloween Houses of Lights. And people, they were very well received. And like I said, we really were very grateful to the young men and women of the Manassas Park High School because they were extremely helpful. And then actually yesterday, we had a cleanup over at Scott Drive Pocket Park, which many of us had never been to. Last time I was there, my nephew was very small and he's in his 30s now. We picked up 100 pounds of litter. We didn't have big things, we had a lot of small things. Once again, we benefited from the young men and women of the Manassas Park school system who came out and helped. We're also thankful to our committee member, Dr. G, who allowed us to basically take up residence in front of her yard. We had a lot of people stare at us as we walked by and wave. Keith was there, and we thank Keith for his help. We also noticed a lot of people do speed on Scott Drive. And the only major finding that we had yesterday was a tire, but like I said, 100 pounds, and we are thankful to Public Works, because without them, that trash would still be sitting there. We are in the process of getting our formal affiliation with Keep America Beautiful. We finished a few weeks ago our focus research and inventory. A survey went out to the different departments of the city to query their knowledge about litter prevention and other things that we have in the city. And then on November 12th, we are going to have training through Keep America Beautiful, and I think that's probably one of our last items before we become a formal affiliate. And then what we have coming up, we have one last event, which is on November 11th. That's Lower Kent Park. We're in the process of arranging it, and it will be a community event, very much like we did over at Brandy Station. But this will be also have a patriotic feel to it because that is Veterans Day. More to come. And of course, when we have our next meeting, we're going to have certificates for everyone who's helped from June to now. So I think altogether, Yessie, we've probably picked up maybe this year more than 500 pounds of trash.
About, yeah. Wow.
And each time we've had 10 to 12 individuals, whether that's staff, residents, different city council members. But we're gaining interest, and we actually have a company that reached out to us about sponsorship.
Yeah.
So we're gaining interest. So that's where we stand for Keep the Park Beautiful. Okay, this one's kind of short and sweet. Community Maintenance Working Group. This is just the timeline of our progress since 2021 and what we're currently working on in 2024. So by the end of this calendar year, we should be, or maybe the beginning of next year, we should be, Keep the Park Beautiful should be a formal affiliate, because that stems from this. You can go to the next page if you want. So our upcoming events, we have the Halloween Houses of the Lights. The entries close this Friday. We have a little bit more than a half a dozen homes, right?
Yeah, we got 2 more today.
Yeah, and so we've been pushing it every which way, promoting it every which way we possibly can. And the scouts will go out this weekend on the 19th to judge. We've redone the whole judging category, everything. We redid everything. Now that's our second year to make things easier. And whoever wins, they will be at Truck or Treat with us. And we've got lots and lots of pieces of candy. And then, of course, Winter Lights Extravaganza, the entries for that will close on December 13th. We're also going to be Keep the Park Beautiful and Community Maintenance Working Group will be in the Winter Light Parade. We're trying to find someone that'll be kind enough to give us a trailer that we can ride on. So and then for next year, one of the things that we're talking about, if you go to the next slide, please, is exploring murals throughout the city. We found a program, but we've got to dig into it to see what the costs are, what the requirements are. We're also looking at locations, and we're thinking, at the moment we're brainstorming, but we're also looking at the cost of ownerships for murals, just not a one and done. So more to come.
Okay.
And I think that's just where, if people are interested, that's where to find the information. Okay. And then the next one is the 50th Anniversary Committee. Okay. You can go to the next slide. And that's the recap of the resolution that we passed on November 8th and May of this year. Just as a FYI, we do have a vacancy for a city council member. Yessie has expressed interest of serving that vacancy. So I have to work with Dean so that we can have another updated resolution so that we can appoint Yessie to that. You go to the next slide, please. And so the committee has been working since January of this year, to come up with the ideas. And this is a very high level, what's the word I'm looking for? A high level outline of what we've come up with. You all have gotten a more detailed brief that kind of gives the background and what we're thinking of. So right now, green means that it's in progress, yellow means that it's being planned, and that peach color, which is actually supposed to be orange, it hasn't started just yet. So as you can see, we're in the process of collecting artifacts from residents. The idea behind it is that we want an online museum that maybe eventually down the road we can have a brick and mortar museum, whether that's a closet or room, something that folks can come in City Hall and learn about the city. The logo contest is underway at the school. We'll get more of an update when we meet on Thursday. And the logo selection, which the logos will be created by the students, the residents, and the committee will decide what the final 50th anniversary logo will be. And that'll be unveiled the first part of the next year, first calendar year. We're going to have an anniversary flag raising. We're in the progress of talking about that and ironing out the details. And just a throwback to what we used to do here for the 4th of July. We used to have a parade on the morning of the 4th of July, and we're going to have a 50th anniversary parade the morning of our Independence Day celebration, which is July 5th. We've talked about possibly having a themed dance the night before the festival with the barbecue contest, but we are underway to working on the barbecue contest. The contract sits with me. I have to go and make do some talks with not Keep the Park, but Kansas City Barbecue Society. So work's underway. And go to the next page. I don't remember what's on the next. So we're also working on a budget, including sponsorship, a different list of sponsorships. We're going to benefit from Yessie's expertise of doing the Latino Festival. We started collecting possible people to be sponsors. So that's in progress, more to come. And that's just from our first meeting. And that's pretty much it for that.
Wow, those slides represent a lot of work that has been put into that, so thank you.
And
Yeah.
it's resident driven. That's the work of residents.
That's the best part, yeah. I have a question. Actually, it's probably more of a staff question. Do we know how much overtime, have we estimated the amount of staff overtime that will be needed for the events? And we probably need a line item in our budget to make sure that the funds are there and ready to be used.
Sorry, my mic isn't working. So to your question, Mayor, I can get with. Sorry about that. Yes, so I can go with Councilmember Hampton offline and see what the requirements are. So it looks like from the slide, there's two main events, the parade and the barbecue festival. So, but I'll get with you offline, Councilmember Hampton, for the actual requirements, and then we'll come back with the staffing support. And yes, I recommend having a separate line, because right now we do have an events line, but it's hard to track, reconcile charges if we don't separate this. It's not like this is a one-time event, so it's easier just to separate it.
Okay, thank you.
And so we have a rough idea based on when Yessie's done the Latino Festival, and it's something that we have been talking about,
Right.
baking that into the cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the sponsors to, oh, well, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But regardless, it needs to go forward.
Right.
Okay. Any comments or questions for Councilmember Hampton? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Consent agenda consists of approval of the minutes of October 1st and October 8th, 2024. Approval of the appointment of Ms. Sunshine Jefferson to serve on the Prince William Arts Council. Approval of the appointment of Ms. Jennifer Malone to serve on the Manassas Park Library Advisory Board for a term to expire June 30th, 2028. Approval of the appointment of Mr. Abriams Josh D. Esteban to serve on the Economic Development Authority of the City of Manassas Park, Virginia for a term to expire on November 18th, 2026. And approval of the appointment of Keith Nguyen as FOIA officer for the City of Manassas Park. Do we have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. My understanding is that Ms. Alice Mergler is with us this evening. Welcome. Ms. Mergler is chair of the Prince William Arts Council. Would you be comfortable to say a few words about the Arts Council?
Arts Council 101, so that she would know what she has committed to. It is, you were using the word adventure a while ago, and to be on the Arts Council is a wonderful adventure. So I'll just read this because maybe all of you need to know. Every year since 81.
Can you speak more directly into that?
Every year, maybe it's not on.
Yeah.
It's on.
Is it?
It's on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will that do? Every year, okay? Every year since 1981, we have tried to incorporate the arts into our everyday lives. Not just something that you run to the Kennedy Center for, or that you go and listen to a high school band concert, but a lot of organizations since 1981 have gathered together, and in 1992, the County Park Authority took over the Arts Council. By then, it had gone from Arts Federation with just a few members, and by then, they thought that it needed to be more organized. But the wonderful thing about the county, and I do have to say this, is that they said, well, a lot of the arts activities are not in the county, they're in the cities. So we have had your name on our Arts Council list for a long time. And when I became chair a couple of years ago, I called your office to say, we've got to have a representative in this, and I barely said, hello, may I speak to somebody who could answer a few questions? And he said, Mrs. Mergler. And it was one of my previous students at Parkside Middle School, who is now in Las Vegas. So you probably know who I'm talking about. And he said, I'll get this going. And he did try. I know he did. But when, again, every July, when we start all over again with our new year, we mentioned the fact that where's Manassas Park? And so we started in on it. And I've known Sunshine for some time for other reasons, and she'll be wonderful. What does it mean to be members of the Arts Council? I'll go fast. Any individual, organization, or business that is committed to the promotion or presentation of the cultural arts in this region and subscribes to the purpose of this council is eligible for membership. When an individual artist, art supporter, nonprofit or for-profit arts organization or business supporter of the art applies for membership, the board of directors votes on approval. Assuming the member meets all criteria, he/she have a vote at the annual meeting, be eligible to receive technical assistance grants, and so forth. I'll make it shorter. It's a wonderful way to be involved, not just in meetings and planning, but to go to the events and represent the Arts Council at the events. For instance, the other night I was at the chorale concert at the Hilton called Heroes. Did any of you go? Because let me tell you, the best choir there, the most uplifting, I thought, and I go to many as chair, they say, you know, you didn't come to, well, okay, there were 4 things the same night, but I tried. The best part was the Manassas Park High School singers. They were wonderful. You ought to have them line up on Veterans Day, because this was all about the service to our country, the songs. And the 2 they sang were absolutely beautiful. I wanted to be sure to mention that. For Sunshine to represent you is just a beginning. hopefully she'll get you, several of you involved so that you say, Sunshine, when's the next concert? When's the next ballet? When the community band? I went at Christmas thinking I was just going to go over and support them, poor little band, little community band. And I walked into Met's middle school. And by the way, one way we help people is the high schools, the middle schools, elementary schools, if they have an auditorium, give it to us for a better rate. But anyway, I walked in there. I thought, oh, they'll be in like a classroom or something. And they were in the main auditorium of Met's, if you've ever been over there. And the entire band was stretched. There were probably 70 members or so. So I was just so surprised, and they did a beautiful job. So we have we have 27 artists as members. And the other day, I was in a meeting with your transportation person. Do you remember that meeting? Were any of you there? Yeah. Yeah. And you are, when she showed that mural initiative, oh man, is he into it. And so is Catherine. No, Elizabeth. Yeah. Elizabeth, and you're going to have, you have an initiative to have a mural before the city of Manassas and before the county. You're going to be first. So keep it going so that we can follow it, say, look, they did it and we need to too, because it really can beautify the area. I will stop now. I've taken more than I should have, but I want to tell you that it's going to be a wonderful privilege for us to have Manassas Park represented the way they should have been all this time.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for pursuing us.
Let me hand you these. I think I counted enough. And it'll teach you, this is what we handed out at Arts Alive. Have any of you ever been to Arts Alive? Mm-hmm. Okay, well,
Thank you.
This year we made a sample magazine to just introduce it to the people who had never been there before or who didn't understand quite what was going on. But we had 33 vendors and 27 acts on 9 different stages. So it was wonderful, and now you'll be participating, and it'll be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on to new business. 11A is 2025 legislative priorities. Who's going to take that?
Sure, I'll take that. So Kelly could not be here tonight, but I'll talk a little bit about that. So this is a pretty straightforward agenda item. This is the proposed 2025 legislative priorities for you all to consider, and if adopted, bring that to the General Assembly to advocate on the city's behalf. But we sourced input from staff and came back, and as you can see, a lot of the points carry over to 24 because they're enduring priorities, focusing on additional funding for transportation and infrastructure, reducing unfunded mandates, increasing resources for social and human services, schools, and public safety. So really a lot of enduring priorities for the city.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions? Any comments? Any additions? No? Okay. Keith, do you want a formal vote on this, or or is consensus sufficient?
I think consensus is sufficient.
Okay. Are we all in agreement? Okay.
Yes.
I oppose.
Yes, thank you.
Ms. Mayor, I oppose, just for the record.
I'm sorry.
I oppose, for the
Okay.
record.
Well, there's still 5 of us.
Yes,
that-
6
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to 11B, Animal Sheltering Services Agreement. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the governing body. What you have before you is an agreement for animal sheltering agreement with Prince William County. We currently use Manassas City for these services. I'm recommending that we terminate our current agreement with Manassas City and utilize Prince William County. There would be a significant savings, over 50%. I think it'd be better for the city and the services we would get from there.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for saving us that much money.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
No, that's great.
No? Okay, well, let's go right to there are two recommended motions here. The first one, that the governing body approve and authorize the mayor to sign an animal sheltering services agreement with Prince William County as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. The second motion would be that the governing body approve and authorize the termination of its current joint sheltering agreement with Manassas City.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank
Okay. 11C is amendment to the existing agreement with the Davey Tree Expert Company.
Good evening,
Welcome,
Mayor.
Calvin.
Good evening, Mayor Rischel, Vice Mayor Mensing, residents, staff, and guests. I'm Calvin Odell, the Director of Community Development. This is a simple item. When we entered into an agreement with Davey Tree Services for tree, landscape, and hardscape services in the downtown, we took advantage of a couple of cooperative procurement opportunities with Fauquier County and Arlington County. However, when we created that agreement, we named it specifically for services in City Center or the downtown. And being that Davey Tree Services is such a qualified vendor and their prices in this contract have been vetted through competitive bidding, we would like the ability to utilize their services throughout the city. We from time to time have complaints from residents that large trees are going to endanger their properties, and we have to go out and find multiple vendors and attempt to get quotes and then wonder if those vendors carry the appropriate insurance or are licensed correctly. We know Davey is. We've already got all of this on file. So we would like to expand this agreement to a citywide contract, and that's what the amendment is. It just changes the agreement from being specifically for the downtown into a citywide agreement.
Okay, comments or questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Calvin. The motion is that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign an amendment to the existing agreement for arborist services with the Davey Tree Expert Company to extend those arborist services to the entire city as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thanks, Calvin.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 11D, which is firefighting equipment. Welcome, Chief.
Sorry, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the governing body. Tonight, what I have for you is an FY25 CIP item. The one item has been in our CIP plan for 10 years. The other one's been there for the last 5 years. So the first item, which is a 5-year CIP plan, is going to come up every 5 years for us, is firefighting PPE. PPE is the firefighting uniforms that are worn for all the IDLH situations, the burning buildings, hazmats, chemicals, stuff like that. What we do at the fire station with PPE for our staff is we do it on a 5-year rotation. It's recommended by OSHA and NFPA to replace this stuff at 10 years due to how it deteriorates over time. And so our goal is to do it every 5 years, which allows our staff to have 2 sets of gear, which is now mandated by OSHA to do that. So what we get is we get 5 years of frontline service out of the gear and then 5 years of reserve. So if someone goes out in the middle of the night, have a fire, they come back, they grab their spare gear off the shelf, they have gear that's still certified, ready to use in case something happens. So if something was to happen to our staff, the first thing that's going to happen is OSHA's going to come in here and start looking at all your records, looking at all your gear, make sure everything's in order, and that way we can truly do the best thing for our staff to keep them safe. And so with that right there, we're going to be writing a contract out of Stafford County, which would give us a pretty good savings amount of money through buying through MES, which is a Municipal Emergency Services. The cost of the PPE is $235,580.19. And then there's also firefighting boots, which is going to be bought from another vendor to save funds, called Atlantic Emergency Solutions. That's going to cost $19,742.50. The second item is SCBA. That's the air packs or the air tanks that are worn on firefighters' backs also for all the IDLH situations. So those are recommended to be replaced at every 10 years. That's been our CIP for the last 10 years. There are new standards coming out that this may push from 10 years to 15 years with all the new technology. Our current 2015 stuff does not meet any of those standards. So we're pretty much bound to do a 10-year replacement cycle. So that's what our goal is, to do a 10-year replacement cycle. That will be bought from a vendor called Atlantic Emergency Solutions through a contract through Chesapeake, Virginia, that we worked on with Dean over the last couple of years. That's also given us a savings by writing another contract. The cost of the SCBA is $428,695.92. So for both pieces of equipment, we did seek FEMA grants over the last 3 to 5 years. We were turned down every time. For the assistant firefighter grant, we got turned down for those every time, which so the reason we put these two pieces of equipment together is because of our financing. Our finance director, Josh McNeil, thank you, buddy. He, instead of us reaching out and trying to finance each piece of equipment separately, Josh got us to do it all together and saved quite a bit of money by doing that. So Josh went through VML, VACO, and ended up with a bank of M&T Bank, and got a really good interest rate of 3.8%. So what we have tonight is we budgeted over the last 5 to 10 years in this CIP model. We thought we was going to spend about $865,000 with all the inflation and all that stuff. It turned out we're going to end up spending with principal and interest $765,730.20. So it's roughly about $100,000 of savings from what we thought we was going to do. So with that, I think you have 3 motions in front of you, and I think Dean just said tonight there's going to be a 4th motion. So
I also want to point out, if I could, that the amount that you just quoted, I think, does not include the $7,500 VML VACO fee, or does it?
yeah, according to Josh, it's part of the financing, Dean.
Okay, so, okay. I mean, I had the total amount of $773,480.20 with the $7,500 funding fee.
Is that correct?
I'll go to Josh now.
Hey, Dean, initially I thought that the 7,500 VML fee was separate, but it's included in the financing, the 694,000 amount.
It had a number, and then it said the $7,500 is a separate amount. I added all the numbers up that you had in the various locations, and it came up. It might be safe just to have the governing body authorize the higher amount, and then if we come in, if it's already included, we find out it's already included, then we don't have to come back to the governing body.
That's fine. I'm pretty confident that it's the $765,000 amount. I can send you the line item details, Dean, if that would help.
Yeah, well, you already, I don't want to get an argument, but you sent them to me. Keith and I went over them. I'm not sure where the $7,500 is baked into that, but especially since the email you sent me specifically said it was separate. So it doesn't hurt to authorize an additional amount.
Yeah.
And then that way, if we don't have to spend that additional amount, then we're fine. But if we do find out we do, then we don't have to bring it back to the governing body. So I'd recommend just go with the higher number that I just quoted. And then, if we don't need it, then that's great.
Okay, the 773 plus change, Dean, is that correct? That's the number that you're referring to? Okay. Okay.
Can we get a correct number? I've yet to hear a correct number.
Can you say that again?
Can you give me a correct number? I've yet to hear a total number.
So the amount that I came up with, looking through all the documentation, was with the principal interest, the $250 bank fee, and the $7,500 BML BACO fee of $773,480.20.
Thank you.
And that may be double, accounting for the $7,500 twice, but I just want to make sure that we don't have to come back to you guys for that.
Okay. I will read it as is. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Do you have more to say, Chief?
No, I do know that there were some questions being asked about what was going to happen to the equipment once we get the new stuff in.
Okay.
And there's multiple things we can do with it, right? Thinking is we can keep it for training. Our goal is to work with the schools and get a VOTEC program for firefighting started up. That would be perfect equipment to get that started up. We could use it for that. Or we could surplus it based off city ordinance. Or we could come to you and make a request, once we get our stuff in, should the people still in North Carolina, these rural departments that have nothing, that lost all their firefighting equipment, maybe we donate it to them. They have something to get started with, because this could be a year before they're ready to go.
That's a
again.
wonderful suggestion.
And I'm sure that they wouldn't get hit if it expires.
Yeah.
I think something's better than nothing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Or take it to Prince William County and they just take it and they strip all the Manassas Park logo off and they incinerate it.
Sure.
And it's truly gone.
Sure.
So
Okay.
there's lots of ways we can move the old stuff away.
Yeah. Are there any comments or questions for the chief? No? Okay. Comments or questions? Yes.
I got one. What was the reasoning the grant was denied?
We were not given any reason. We were just told it was denied. Everything we get, one it just says non-funded. That's what you get from FEMA from us. That's all I see on my end is non-funded.
Maybe the money's somewhere else. Maybe the money's somewhere else.
A lot of the large localities do get funded. Like, that's some of the big localities get funded for some reason.
Follow up? Okay. Okay, let's move on. We have 4 motions for this. The first motion is that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign a purchase agreement for firefighter protective clothing from Municipal Emergency Services, MES, for a total of $235,580.19 as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. The second one is that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign a purchase agreement for self-contained breathing apparatus for a total cost of $428,645.92, and a purchase agreement for firefighting boots for a total cost of $19,742.50 from both Atlantic Emergency Solutions as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Next is that the governing body approve and authorize the city manager to sign the necessary contractual documents with M&T Bank to finance the purchase of firefighter protective clothing, firefighting boots, and self-contained breathing apparatus in an amount not to exceed $773,480.20, which includes closing costs and fees as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. And the fourth one is that the governing body approve and adopt a resolution authorizing the city to enter into a lease purchase agreement with Manufacturers and Traders Trust Company for the purchase of firefighter protective clothing and self-contained breathing apparatus for the Fire and Rescue Department as presented and subject to final city attorney review.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are now to our second public comment time.
Just one.
Yes, ma'am.
Just remind folks that we have the Veterans Flag Raising Ceremony, November 1 at 1 p.m. We have the Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Veteran Services as a speaker, a number of VSOs, right, Sarah? And I believe the school students, some of the choir, will be there to, when I talked to the administrator last week, she thought they were going to be there.
We've invited them. They don't have school that day, so it's a matter of getting them there.
Yeah, just who shows up. So and I've been talking to a number of veterans themselves, so they come. So.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yes, ma'am.
I would like to say thank you to the fire department. They put on a wonderful open house this past Saturday.
Did.
It was really fun, very well attended, and it was very informative. So we've seen the EMT demonstration where they show all their equipment before, but what I had never seen before was them cut open a car. So that was very interesting to watch. So thank you for putting that on for the community.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment? Seeing no one and hearing no one, we'll move on to City Manager's report.
Just a quick update. So the library is back and open, resuming normal operations, services, and programming. All of the repairs have been done. We just have a couple of minor IT issues that we'll fix in-house, but essentially they're back open. So please let your residents know.
Okay. So they're open like
Today.
tomorrow?
Today, they're open.
Today. Oh, okay. Excellent. Thank you. We do have a closed session. Dean, would you please read us into closed session?
I recommend the governing body go into closed meeting for the following reasons: to discuss and consider the terms of the proposed purchase and sale agreement with B&B Movie Theaters LLC for the sale of parcel B2, Connor Center, Blooms Court, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position and negotiating strategy of the city, to consult with the city attorney regarding a specific legal matter requiring the provision of legal advice by the city attorney, and to discuss the terms of a proposed amendment to the lease agreement with Girani Coffee House, Inc., where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position and negotiating strategy of the city, pursuant to paragraphs 3, 8, and 29, respectively, of subsection 2.2-3711A of the Code of Virginia.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. We're in closed session. We'll take a 5-minute break.